Okay, so how our risk categorization is going to help us devise our protocol? Eventually, there are three main goals which we are going to speak about. One is um, endurance training because aerobic exercises have cardioprotective value, and there are multiple changes which are happening at the arterial endothelial level. The risk factor control is amazing, and with that aerobic exercises is the mainstay of cardiac rehabilitation. There are a lot of beneficial effects which are seen with that. Along with that, strength training, because it is associated with vitality, it is associated with better quality of life. And when aerobic exercises are topped up with strength training or resistance training, it has a better and beneficial effect on hypertension, on weight management, on diabetes control, everything. And that's why it has to be combination of both. We have to give aerobic training, we have to give strength training. Of course, for strength training, if the patient has undergone a recent CABG, there are going to be certain limitations. But barring that, strength training can definitely be part of phase two cardiac rehabilitation, because usually by 6 to 8 weeks, even the patient who has undergone CABG, their restrictions are going to be minimal with respect to weight training. And third important aspect is risk factor modification or lifestyle modification, which patient will have to adhere to. So for low risk patient, we spoke about, they do not have any ventricular arrhythmias, they do not have any symptoms, their functional capacity is above 7 meds. They do not have any ST segment elevation, ejection fraction is above 50%. So for these patients, these are low risk individuals. So we can provide direct medical supervision for 6 to 18 sessions or 30 days post event or post procedure. And after that, once we are sure that there are no adverse arrhythmias or no adverse reactions to the exercise session of moderate intensity, then we can slightly wean off the supervision which is there. There are a few sessions which may be supervised, but which may not be monitored with a 12 lead ECG. So that is not required. But we are supposed to document the findings after each and every session. But as I mentioned, because these are low risk individuals, the chances of adverse events are fewer. So we are going to have just fewer sessions which are going to be uh, supervised as well as monitored. For moderate risk patients, we are going to have 12 to 24 sessions or 60 days, that is 2 months after the event, which have to be supervised, and continuous ECG monitoring, progressing to intermittent and no monitoring. So in the beginning, the sessions are going to be entirely monitored with more than one lead of ECGs monitoring. If we see that there is no abnormal responses which are seen, then again we can gradually wean off the supervision or monitoring. High risk, there has to be a supervision and monitoring for 18 to 36 exercise sessions or 90 days, that is 3 months. These patients are supposed to exercise in the supervised setting, and we have to be absolutely sure that no adverse if events are occurring. Coming to the exercise prescription for these individuals, this is going to be just the outline. Eventually, when we are devising the protocol, it has to be case-based. We have to weigh if the patient is having any additional comorbidities, what are the possible things for the patients, if we need to customize it in any ways. And there has to be consideration of the safety factors, clinical history, if what is the function of left ventricle, if the patient has got any other pain syndromes which are there, what are the requirements of the patient, that eventually when patient is going to be discharged and they are going to go back to their lives, what they are expect to do, what are their vocational requirements, job requirements, what are their recreational activities. So basically, what are the personal goals or personal aims of the patient, because our rehabilitation would depend largely on these things. And of course, it has to be monitored irrespective of anything. So the very important thing which we have to understand is This is to make sure that exercise and physical activity is going to be safe for the patient, and that confidence need to be built in the patient as well as in the therapist. And that's why we need to have these supervised and monitored sessions in the OPD, in the vicinity of crash cart, in the hospital premises. So if any adverse event occurs, can be tackled immediately, and we understand it. So there is going to be, of course, ECG monitoring. um, Patient is supposed to do physical activity, so telemetry is advised. In low resource setting, it may not be possible. So if the patient is exercising on treadmill, then a single lead ECG monitoring also is good. Rhythm, um, how the cardiac rhythm and rate is, that has to be monitored throughout. Blood pressure has to be assessed periodically, that especially in hypertensive individuals, there shouldn't be elevated or accelerated response to the exercise, and what is the level of perceived exertion. So all these things have to be routinely monitored, whatever, whether it is aerobic training, whether it is strength training, or whether you're going for a circuit training. But these things have to be monitored in view of patient safety. Coming to the exercise prescription, it first, as I said, it is the endurance training or the aerobic exercises. This is going to build the increased enhanced pumping capacity of the heart, because whenever we are giving aerobic exercises, it is associated with increase in the ventricular mass. More is the ventricular mass, better is the pumping capacity for the left ventricle. So there is direct effect. Then the peripheral vascular resistance reduces, the endothelial function improves. There is peripheral vasodilatation secondary to aerobic exercises, which is going to again has a beneficial effect on the blood pressure. The elasticity or capacitance of the vessel wall is improved, and all these effects are going to reduce the likelihood of future episodes. So it is going to reduce the disease severity in these individuals, and that's why this is very important. So again, coming to how the exercise session should be, um, the frequency should be at least 3 to 7 days per week. Um, Minimum 5 days are definitely recommended. Duration is 20 to 60 minutes. Um, Depending on, again, on what are my additional goals. If I want to target weight loss as well, then maybe slightly later in the phase 2 rehabilitation, I might go till 60 minutes. Otherwise, a 30-minute actual aerobic exercise session is sufficient. If I'm going for a higher intensity session, high intensity interval training, which is reserved for only younger individuals and low risk individuals. So for them, the session can be as short as 20 minutes. So again, it depends. Then type of exercise, it has to involve large group muscles. So now the mode can be anything. For me, to have it in OPD setting, it is easier for me to have either treadmill or cycle. If I have an excellent circuit, then I can circuit training facility, then I can have a circuit built. But then again, unless I have a telemetry, when patient is moving around so much, it is difficult to monitor the heart rate, because I have to monitor the heart rate and rhythm continuously. Maybe other things I can monitor periodically. But for that, cycle ergometer, arm ergometer, or treadmill is the most suitable for me. So depending on patient's capacity, for example, patient ko if they have knee pain, then arm ergometry is more suitable. If patient has a balance issue, elderly patient, so rather than a treadmill protocol, I would opt for a cycle ergometry protocol. So the mode of the exercise can vary, but I would prefer a rhythmic and large muscle group activities. Coming to the most crucial part, that is the intensity of the exercise. Minimum recommended is moderate. Uh, as per the WHO, AHA, ACSM, whatever guidelines we are taking, the minimum recommended intensity is 30 minutes. Moderate intensity activity, aerobic activity is associated with cardioprotection, and it prevents the future similar episodes. And hence, we have to target the moderate intensity zone. The rest of the things I have already explained. The moderate intensity matlab, either on RPE 11 to 16, or um 40 to 80% of the heart rate reserve. Now, how do we calculate this heart rate reserve? Formula is HR max minus HR rest. So HR max, I have already told that on graded maximal exercise testing, I have taken uh, whatever is the actual maximal effort at that moment, whatever is the heart rate recorded is going to be HR max minus HR rest. So अगर HR max 150 है, HR rest is 100, then my cardiac reserve is going to be 50 beats. Now I will begin with 40% of this 50 plus HR rest, that is 100, is going to be the lower intensity zone for me. And heart reserve, cardiac reserve, that 50 ka 80% plus HR rest is going to be my higher limit. So my target zone is going to be this low to or lower limit to the higher limit, and that is how I'm going to monitor the intensity. So throughout these 30 minutes, I'm going to try and adjust the intensity of my exercise. So that is how I'm going to adjust the speed of the treadmill or inclination of the treadmill such that the heart rate stays in this target intensity zone. For muscle strength, it has to be at least one set, and I can gradually increase up to 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions or 8 to 10 exercises. Uh, there, I begin with targeting the endurance for the muscle. So I will have more number of repetitions. So I can have 12 to 16 repetitions with lower load, uh, and I can gradually move to increase the load such that the person can perform 8 to 12 repetitions. And then periodically, I will revise my 1 RM and adjust the load likewise. It has to be done at least 2 to 3 times in a week, and there has to be at least 48 days gap. Uh, for cardiac patient, again, there are certain guidelines. There, the Valsalva has to be strictly avoided. If patient is having heart failure, then a very strong isometric contraction should not be done by the patient, as it is detrimental for the heart. Um, and if the patient has uncontrolled hypertension, then the blood pressure has to be monitored throughout. So there are these certain precautions which we'll have to do when patient is, and of course, if the recent CABG is done in view of bone healing till 12 weeks, progressive resisted exercises have to be prevented. So I can begin with minimal load and more number of repetitions will have to be done. And then after 12 weeks, I can gradually start increasing the load so that the progressive overload will be achieved for the muscle and muscle strength improves. Then flexibility. Flexibility is very essential for doing daily tasks, and it prevents the injuries, musculoskeletal injuries, which may occur during the exercises. So they can very effectively be done as warm up and cool downs. So although the recommended frequency is 2 to 3 times, but I can practically do it every day. So before every aerobic session, we can do stretching as a warm up. Um, I can do 3 to 5 to 10 repetitions. Make sure that my muscle is completely stretched over all the joints it is crossing. So, for example, if I'm speaking of about the bicep muscle, it has to be stretched over the shoulder, over the elbow, and over the forearm. So that is how the effective stretching looks like. Prefer dynamic stretching over static stretching. That is going to be beneficial even in the warm up. So that is how the flexibility training can be incorporated along with other exercises which are there. And gradually it will have to be progressed, the activity. Um, So if appropriate heart rate increase is there, there is no chronotropic incompetency, the stable blood pressure response is there, there are no ST segment changes, no new cardiovascular symptoms which are there, then these are signs that everything is fine, and the heart is responding physiologically to that extra physical stimulus or extra physical stress which is imposed on the heart. And then I can gradually increase the load in terms of either inclination on a treadmill or resistance on a cycle ergometer. and we can progress. So, that is about the phase two exercise protocol. I would like to emphasize here that this is not the end of it. Cardiac rehabilitation itself is a lifelong process. So, the purview of this particular classroom was pertaining to phase two cardiac rehabilitation. But whatever is the risk of the patient, this is a lifelong adjustment. Once a patient has CAD, that means the atherosclerotic process has started in the arteries somewhere, and it will, if it has to be contained, so all these risk factors have to be controlled throughout the life. And doing regular exercise or regular physical activity is the best and cheapest medicine which is available to these patients. And hence, the risk factor modifications which we are providing to the patient, the adherence has to be assessed in between. So there are ways of calculating the percentage adherence. So percentage adherence has to be documented by the cardiac rehab uh, team, that if the patient has successfully quit their addictions, if the blood pressure is under control, are they taking their medications regularly, are they exercising regularly. So all these adherences will have to be maintained. And eventually, after phase two rehabilitation, somewhere so, phase two cardiac rehabilitation is not the end of it. There is a lifelong modification once the it's a natural aging process. In few people, just that atherosclerosis begins a little early, and we will have to um, make certain lifestyle adjustments. So, patient has to do these adjustments for lifelong, and in that, the physically active lifestyle is very crucial. And to do that, there has to be discussion and involvement of the patient in the goal setting. That when we are discharging the patient from phase two cardiac rehabilitation, we will have to take into account that how patient can be actively involved in it. What are the interests of the patient? Maybe patient is interested in some kind of recreational sport, some recreational physical activity like trekking. So if and how it can be incorporated in the form of physical activity for the patient, what what kind of routine activity prescribed to the patient, so that there is the exercise adherence or physical activity adherence which will be maintained. So this is a very, very crucial endpoint for phase two cardiac rehabilitation. And of course, cardiac rehab team has to dialogue with the patient in between and try and find out if they are really exercising the patient, what are their activity levels, if they are doing it regularly, what is the functional capacity or highest met levels which can be achieved. So periodic stress testing can be done, and that is how we can adjust the load. So that this is going to be the future of phase two cardiac rehabilitation. So that is what is about phase two cardiac rehab. Thank you so much, Physio TV team, for giving me this opportunity to record this session on phase two cardiac rehabilitation. Thank you, Sancheti Institute for Orthopedics and Rehabilitation, College of Physiotherapy, the technical team of Physio TV, and stay tuned for more engaging educational sessions on Physio TV. Thank you so much.